Welcome to Wally Spark Reviews.
That's Wally with an E!
I'm going to show you this little jig that I built here, and maybe it will help somebody out somewhere in the world. And basically it's just a few angle irons, some nuts, bolts, lock washers, and washers. And I'm going to show you what I use this for. So I just built my 6-foot cedar fence, and I had a couple 2-3 feet of 4x4 posts sticking way up above the top of the fence line, the extra obviously, and I used that jig to cut off the tops of these 4x4s. As you can see, they're all really nice and neat. Now let's go take a look and I'll show you how I did that. Let me start by saying that I did not invent this. I was looking for some information on the internet of how to cut off tops 2x4s simply, and I ran across this on Amazon. Actually, they sell this thing. I decided to build my own, and how it works is basically you're going to, well, let's get all the nuts and bolts loosened up here so it fits over the 4x4. And it's going to go on like that. I just have a 4x4 rigged up in my vise here just to demonstrate. Something like that. And so what's going to happen here is once this is on, you're going to stick your blade right here between these two angle irons, and it's going to give you a straight cut across. I'll explain this damage here in a few minutes, but anyways, that's the idea behind it. You're going to get a straight cut across your 4x4. Now it's a little more involved. Once you get this up here on your 4x4, you just want to kind of basically snug it up a little bit. And then what I did was took a short level, which I just lost track of. Let me find that quickly. Okay, here we go. So I just took a short level and I had to level it this way, level it from front to back on both sides, and I would just take my my socket driver and just kind of tap here and there until I got it all level all the way around. Then I knew I'm looking at a horizontal level perfectly. Then I would take my ratchet and socket and tighten these down good. Again, I'm just demonstrating here, so, and you tighten them up good. You don't want to over tighten them, too much, or you'll start bending the angle iron. Just get them nice and tight, and as long as they're sturdy, it shouldn't go anywhere. Then you're going to take, what I used was a reciprocating, or a Sawzall reciprocating saw, and got it in there, and you just start cutting across basically. Now, it sounds simple enough. I had 16 posts to do, and each one took about 10 minutes, so that doesn't sound too bad, but it was a little more involved in that. And what happened here is, over time, the blade kind of started shifting off, and eventually it just cut up and through the metal there. I had to switch these angle irons around once during my 16 cuts because they got bad like that. This was this actually broke on the last one I was doing. So all the way up to the 16th one, I had a nice little opening in there for my blade to slide through. This just happened on the last one, and I just basically pushed my blade down on top of this good one and kept it even with that, so the blade didn't try to start going off through this opening here. So it worked pretty well, and all it consists of is I had a piece of angle iron around my garage. I cut it down into, well, in my case, you can make this how you want, but I cut it down to, about 9 inches or so, 4 pieces, and put them together on one side. I used a nut and bolt on each side to hold them together, and I used the nut that has the plastic in it. I don't know what you call them, but it locks tight when you get it tight, so you don't have to worry about it coming loose. And then I went to the hardware store and got some long bolts here that were going to go all the way through each one. And obviously it's going to have to be at least 3.5 inches. Well, I should say it's going to have to be more than 3.5 inches. I think I got 4-inch or 4.5-inch bolts, some lock washers and nuts, 4 sets of those. I put a washer in between this little assembly right here on each one. That gave me my space for the blade to fit into. And you can put the lock washer, thickness, the size that you need in there for whatever kind of blade you're going to be using. The first one that I grabbed out of my junk, first 4 that I grabbed, was perfect for my blade. And that was it. It worked pretty well. It lasted through 16 cuts. It wasn't the easiest thing in the world to do, but it wasn't the hardest thing either. But ultimately, I got my straight cuts across. And that's what I was trying to achieve, and this helped me to achieve it. Now, like I said, I built this, but I found that you can buy this on Amazon, probably other places. I'll leave a link in the description to where you can buy this gizmo here, this jig, on Amazon if you just want to save yourself some time and spend a little more money and just have it pre-made for you already and ready to go. I'm just going to show you some close-ups here in case anybody does decide that they want to try to build one of these. You can see what I kind of did here. Let's turn on some light. Maybe that'll help, huh? So yeah, I just used these types of bolts. I got these at Menards, actually. I got a pack of them. They got the little square right at the right behind the head there that kind of locked into these holes, so I didn't have to hold it or use another wrench on the other side. Worked perfectly. And you can see my little washer between the angle irons there to give me room for my blade. And then you just got to kind of figure out, which holes you're going to use. I kind of offset them. I offset these so I could get my socket onto these without running into the head of the bolt here. Flip that one over. You just, you got to be a little mechanically inclined here, obviously. A little ingenuity to do this, but it worked nice for 16 cuts anyways. Let's take a look at the back side. There you go. And all I used was this reciprocating saw here. And I didn't have probably the ideal blade that I wanted to use. This is actually a metal blade, and it probably took me a little longer to cut through those 4x4s than if I had used a wood blade. But I noticed the wood blades were thicker. So it was either replace the washers that I put in there with little thicker ones, or just use this. And this was already in motion, so I just kept going. And I liked this blade because it was nice and long, so it stuck out well past the other side of the jig. and I could see the blade out there, so I wasn't, you know, if it was too short, it might end up hitting on the back side of that jig, the metal, and bust the blade or bend it or whatever. So that's all I used right there. Now, one last thing is, if you already have your fence built, you know, like I did on this 4x4, you can just rest this right on the top of your fence, and if that's straight, there's not going to be much leveling to do. And it'll give you, well, let's grab my tape measure here. It'll give you, at least with the angle irons that I used, about 1.5 inches, sorry, of clearance from the top of your fence to where you're cutting your post off. I wanted to go a little higher, so I built this little goofy thing out of some 2x2s, and I was able to just stick that right underneath it and let this rest on the top of my fence, and then put my jig on top of that because I wanted more clearance from the top of the fence to where I was cutting the post at, which gave me about 3 inches or so. And this was obviously very simple to build. I just cut down some 2x2s and screwed them together here like that. So hopefully this might help you out if you're building your own fence, or you can just buy one. But I just wanted to show you that it does work. May not last forever. If you got like 20-30 posts to do, well, good luck. You might have to build a couple of these. You can keep taking this apart and flipping it around. Like, for instance, this side here is still good, so I could flip this around so it's down here and start fresh again, which I did one time. But it's a hassle taking this apart and putting it back together, and yeah. So I wish it would have lasted longer, but unfortunately it didn't. But it did serve my purpose. And it's all done, and now I can throw it away. So there you go. Hope it helps you out. Thanks for watching. I did want to mention too, just so I don't get any goofy comments, I'm not a professional, and I don't know how a professional would have done this. I'm sure it wouldn't have been like the way that I did it, and they probably would have used a circular saw. I really don't honestly know. But this was the easiest method for me. I've tried cutting 4x4 posts before with a circular saw and never had a lot of luck with it. And generally, I never had the big enough blade either to go through in one cut. And you got to come back around, and it ends up cutting it awkward. So never had any luck doing that. And that's why I wanted to do it this way, and it worked out perfectly. But yes, for a professional doing this, I'm sure they can do it a lot quicker and easier because they do it every day. But in my case, this is what worked out best for me. Thanks.